Now that we've lifted it up, I do believe that we can sit here and look like a fucking asshole. Today, we are going to be talking about the dirtiest word in RC crawling. This is things you should know. It's the late 2000s, and competition is at a peak for the MOA and sportsman crawlers. And a new trend is starting. The scale trucks are coming into the world. The Axial SCX-10 being released, and other ways of making realistic vehicles, a group formed known as Scale Off-Road Assholes of RC. Scale Off-Road Rock Crawling Association, or SORCA, was formed in the mid-2010s. The goal was simple: create a rule set that levels the playing field and also lets people be as creative as they want to be with their tiny little trucks. And that's what they did. And they would create 3 separate classes, all with very distinct, different style vehicles. You had your daily driver, which was a class 1, a street legal vehicle, so to speak. Your class 2, which was identified as a trail truck, basically. And class 3 was meant to be all out, tube style chassis, 4-wheel steer, dig, get as creative as you want. This is where you'd see We Rock style vehicles, where you would see King of Hammers style vehicles, and above all, Top Truck Challenge style vehicles with big tires and cool stuff. And to encourage builders to get as creative as they possibly can, they would put together a scale point system. And basically, the scale points were there to help counteract the fact that you were adding things to your vehicle to make it perform not so great or not as good, because adding stuff to a body is going to add weight. Adding a hard body to the top of your vehicle is going to add weight. All these things acted essentially as a handicap for you going into your courses. And as we would go on through the years, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, blah, 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 rules would change and evolve, much like the vehicles that were coming out at the time. Traxxas was releasing their first crawler, their first trail truck. Vatera was coming out with their first trail truck. I mean, the scene was really starting to take off at this point. And on the competition side, there was no vehicles built specifically with competition in mind. It was, let's build a truck that looks cool, that looks realistic, that something you would take out on the trail. And that's all everything was trail trucks, trail vehicles, is all trail stuff, which is cool because there's plenty of G6 type events and other trail events going on that exist out there. And getting out and hitting the trails with your friends is the biggest part of this side of the hobby. Competition is just a small little niche thing. And much like anything, the competition side is going to force the manufacturers to take notice in realizing that this is a thing. This is what people want to do. People want to compete with these stupid little things. And it's a ton of fun. You should definitely get out and try it for sure. I don't know about you, but you should definitely try it. And with the scale competitions taking off, companies would take notice and they started adding more performance-based thought processes in their vehicles. And many aftermarket companies started to pop up that would enhance the performance of your vehicle, whether it's through link geometry or shocks or shock tuning or just overall lighter, better parts. It helped create this community of competition-based companies. At the end of the day, that's friggin' great to see companies not only start, but evolve over time with the changes that would come in later years because of the evolution in this hobby, this sport, whatever you want to call it. And the closer we got to the year 2020, more brands started popping up with angled skids, angled chassis, angled skid plates, give you more breakover. That's what the people want. They want the sweet breakovers.
You said it, man.
And in my opinion, Toizuki was really one of the early starters of this trend. This is an opinion, not a fact. They were big in pushing the performance. The forward motor mount that they had was an incredible upgrade that would lower, not only put the motor as low as it possibly could, but it would also put that motor up front, which would give you all the weight up front, which is great for climbing stuff. And they had that little bit of an angled skid for the breakovers. That's what the people want. They want to do sweet breakovers.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
And then, year 2020 happened. The world shut down. Events that were going on for years just stopped. They're like, okay, we don't care. That's not really what happened, but you know. Events were canceled because of what was going on in the world, and it gave SORCA time to reflect on how can we screw over these people some more. I guarantee that that's not how they thought. And SORCA would think, we need to revise these rules because over the years, people would push the rules, push the boundaries. They would find that little gray area. They would read between the lines. And now SORCA's like, yeah, this is getting out of hand. Let's do something. People have been asking for a change for years. And that's exactly what they did. They pushed out a frickin' Bible of a rule book, and it made some people not too happy because, one, it's a lot of words that you got to read, and reading is hard for a lot of people. But on the other hand, these rules, in a nutshell, are a little bit simpler. Here's a square. Here's a rectangle. You got to fill this little box. You got to fill this little box. You got to fill this little box. It's not that bad. And with this rule update, a lot of things would change. And it wasn't all for the better, at least not in everybody's mind. There still is a lot of hate. And like any rule change or rule update, people get upset. There's people that are going to leave the hobby. people that are going to get out of competition, and those that still have a love for that hobby, for the competition side of it, they're going to persevere, they're going to push through, and they're going to make those changes, because we're a bunch of hoarders with all the ports that we need to make these changes just sitting on the shelf, more than likely. So throw that stuff on the bench, or spend a couple bucks and change your body, whatever you got to do. I get it, it sucks because everything's expensive, but crawling is fun. That's all I got to say about that. With the rule update, a lot of people would start to abandon SORCA because they didn't like the rules, man.
Am I the only one around here who gives a shit about the rules?
They're not fun. It's all about having fun. Well, guess what? Having fun is determined by you, not the rules. If you're not having fun, it's your own fault. That's all. And over the last couple years, large companies have taken notice of the rise in competition, and they have started pumping out products that are solely focused on competition. The Vanquish VRD, the SCX10 Pro, and has a angled skid, forward motor mount, a lot of features that were made popular in the early years. And it took all this time to get to the big guys, or at least to get them to recognize, hey, we can make money if we make this stuff. And many other companies have taken notice. I mean, even Red Cat got in on the competition stuff with their Ascent Fusion. Even with this rule change from SORCA that happened a couple years ago, there's still competitions going on that follow that rule set. There's still people out there that follow this rule set. And yet, on Facebook, everybody says, SORCA killed the hobby. SORCA killed crawling. SORCA is the devil.
The devil.
But I argue this. Trail trucks have evolved over the years. And in its infancy, mid-2010s, when the rules started, there was really only one brand. As the years went on, more brands would come out, and they would evolve their vehicles into something more performance-based, which would force the rules to change, because manufacturer vehicles are going to force rule changes. That's simple as that. But without SORCA making these changes, I don't think it would have forced these other people over here to create these other rule sets. Because now you have SORCA, which is still pretty up there with the nationals as the national standard for the scale competitions. There's all these other rule sets out there. The RCSA, the Radio Controlled Scale Association, is another rule set, which is a great rule set. All these are great rule sets, but they would not have existed if it wasn't for SORCA. It's just an opinion. Because without SORCA, and people going, hey, I don't like this rule, and other people going, well, I'm going to tweak this rule, and what if we tweak this rule, and what if we do this? Now we have our own rule set. So SORCA really created all of this. You can hate on them all you want, but all they really did is evolve and change with the times. And these other rule sets allow you to build other vehicles that might not necessarily fit with SORCA, but they're still fun to compete with. The We RC Rock, the We Rock buggies, those little things are friggin' awesome, and they just added truck classes to their rule set, which is still nothing like SORCA, even though you're still running trucks. It's still nothing like SORCA. And these different outlets for competition and outlets for creativity in your building really comes down to what SORCA went out to initially started. And that was creating a fair rule set for everyone to compete. And whether you love SORCA or hate SORCA, you can't deny the fact that they had an impact on this hobby, this side of the hobby, and it honestly was still in its infancy when SORCA got started. And we are just now getting big enough to have multiple rule sets, and people are just now starting to figure out what they really enjoy about the hobby, because there's more people into the crawling side of it than there ever was before. And this is gonna wrap up this video. Those were just my thoughts and opinions. Nothing more, nothing less. Take it as you will. Once again, I appreciate the support. I appreciate you watching. Be sure to drop a like if you like this video. Comment with your thoughts on what your favorite rule set is, or what rules you don't like, or, whatever. So, as always, time to truck on, and I will catch you on the next one.